Okay, so if the Leafs, let's turn our attention to Wednesday night, because obviously Wednesday night, if you are going to get a win, and Jesse, you're going to be there, and you've seen this, what does it need to be? What are the things they need to do that you didn't see in Game 4?
Well, like, we didn't go through the particulars on Game 4, I guess, but like,
do you want to? I don't know. They just got shelled.
Well,
what do you want to say?
Two teams on the ice, and I think.
Well, where do you want to go?
If we're going to Game 4 and we're looking at like what they can do better, like the Leafs played well in games 1 through 3. That's why it's not a disaster, and it's the same narrative coming out of Ottawa in that Game 6 where you're upset with the order or Game 5. Sorry, you were upset with the order of things. If they leave Florida and it's 2-2 and they had won the fourth game out of in Game 4 instead of they winning the first 2 at home, everything looks a little better. And I feel like once again, if people are losing their minds over the series right now, it's just the order of how things played out. I think the Panthers had a stinker in game number 1 and the Leafs had a stinker in game number 4. And these are two very close teams. The Leafs, like, your goaltending is a part of your team. So Joseph Woll holding them in that game is their team holding them in that game.
If Bobrovsky goes down, Vanacek is not having that performance.
No. Well, we don't know if he has it in him, but based on on paper, we're assuming that Vanacek can't do that.
He's not.
But Bobrovsky held them in when there was a number of opportunities for the Leafs to tie that game where Willie had 2 breakaways.
Yeah.
One and a half, really. Yeah. One got stuffed out by the Panthers because they're good on defense. You know, they stop him on a breakaway. And then the other one got saved. Matthew Nyes had a shorthanded breakaway that Bobrovsky saved.
That one,
their goaltending. We're talking about Joseph Woll all night. The guy at the other end outplayed Joseph Woll. And it was a 1-0 game for most of it. And then William Nylander has that bad pass where he can, if you want to bring up this image, like, this is William Nylander's view up the ice. He's looking he's at center ice. He's looking at 2 guys. One's along the wall where you just chip it down into the zone, and JT's in the middle of the ice, and he decides to send the pass there to the middle of the ice, and it leads to a turnover to the goal. That's just a guy not using his head in that moment.
Just a phalanx of Panthers right there.
I would rather have Willie Nylander hold on to this puck and try and carry it in the zone himself than throw that pass. That is out of all of the decisions you can make on the ice in this moment, besides like shooting it back at Joseph Woll and trying to score on your own goal, like, this is the second worst decision you could make. There's so many other options, and I don't believe that's that player. I believe he made a mistake.
Well, what about
he's forcing it, right?
Yeah. Morgan Riley had the puck, and Willie was open, Domi was open, and Riley went Domi.
Yes.
And that was that weird tip.
That was there was a free one-timer.
Yeah, it caught him weird too, right? It wasn't a great pass.
So you look at all these little mistakes that they keep making, and they're still in the game, though. You know, it's 1-0 up until this point, and you just need one bounce to go your way. And the Panthers, to their credit, have been relentless this entire series when they are playing well. They're relentless on the forecheck. Yeah. They're able to dump the puck, and they always kind of retrieve it when they're going to chase it because they're so good at that. So it's still a tight series between 2 tight teams. And I don't know how it's going to play out because they are so good and the margins are so thin between these 2 teams. And we can't just look at this one game and say the Leafs are out of it or the Panthers are going to dominate. Coming into this thing, we all thought it'd be tight. It'd be really close. We thought the Panthers were looking a little better than the Leafs, and that's kind of how it played out so far. It's still super tight.
I want to say one thing too on what you're talking about. What I meant earlier with what happened to the Leafs forecheck is I saw the Panthers, like, even when the Leafs were holding for a change, their forwards were challenging the Leafs defense even behind their own net, right? Because the Leafs are slow to break out. Paul Maurice knows this. They're always slow to break out. And in the regular season, you got the time. Right? They're not going to, I don't know, it's a Tuesday night. We're playing St. Louis. They're not going to come after us like that.
Rarely are you going to get someone's all.
Clearly what happened last night is they saw whatever it was, whatever weakness they saw, they were able to say, if I skate directly at this guy, he's going to make a mistake. And it happened again and again. And you're seeing Marner and Nylander and Tanev and McCabe cutting back and passing the puck back behind the net and trying. And I'm not seeing that enough at the other end of the ice. I'm not seeing guys like Kulikov and Schmidt, who the Leafs should and did feast on in the first 2 games, really making the mistakes that they should have. And if you have pressure on you, You're going to make those mistakes, especially if you're defenseman at that level and not at like an Aaron Ekblad puck moving level, that sort of thing.
Well, and if the Leafs had the puck as much as the Panthers, what would you expect the Panthers to do? Hit you nonstop.
Yeah.
And there just wasn't enough of that from the Leafs. Again, the speed, the explosiveness, it wasn't there. They rarely made them pay. There was obviously OEL on Rodriguez. That's a penalty. Benoit on Reinhart.
That was a big hit.
Oh my God, the pop on the stream for that. I don't know if we cut it for a highlight. We probably assumed there was going to be a goal coming. Never came. But yeah, that was absolutely ridiculous and maybe one of the only bright spots in the game. They just didn't make the Panthers pay for having the puck. There wasn't a toll.
I thought you guys might find it interesting that 7 minutes ago, NHL Player Safety tweeted out that Max Domi has been fined $5,000 under the CBA.
There it is.
Barkov hit.
That's good.
I mean, it warranted something. But
and by the way, this morning, Paul Maurice confirmed Barkov's fine.
yeah.
Well, he got up. Like,
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, he was asked about
I don't
it.
think anybody thought he was going to be injured.
I just want to shout out Paul Maurice and Craig Berube for doing their jobs as playoff coaches. You never give an inch as a playoff coach. Your team did nothing wrong. Their team did everything wrong. Paul Maurice all of a sudden became an expert of, hey, we know what he was doing. He laid that hit at a particular time of game. But enough about Matthew Tkachuk trying to take out Marner's legs in game one. I want to talk about Max Domi on Barca. Oh, now it matters to Paul. And then Craig Berube actually burst out laughing on the train when I read this. He said Kulikov's elbow on Marner was 10 times worse.
I love and it was. It's a headshot.
Adam!
It's a headshot.
I mean, it's bad.
It's a headshot.
10 times worse.
10 times.
Craig.
I would even say 12.
Wow. Damn. 16 because it's Marner. Wow.
I thought Mitch Marner had a good game. I like.
You liked it?
I feel like he's not getting credit he deserves for the defensive side of the game that he had.
So nobody wants to give them credit for that, though, Jesse, because they're not scoring.
I don't know if you guys remember the play where Mitch was caught back and he was the only man to race back and he blocked the shot himself after making a poke check on one side of the ice.
He did that a few times. I think.
It was the one where he blocked it with his entire body. It hit him. And like those little things, I feel like Mitch has been excelling at these playoffs because of how free they've been playing a little when they've been playing really well. And I think defensively, he had a really good game. Offensively, obviously, there was zero. But like defensively, he's doing his part.
One guy that I thought was just he was good at certain parts, not good at others was Willie. And there was a I think a shorthanded 2-on-1. Of course it was shorthanded because the Panthers were on, six power plays throughout the game. But Marner is back and Willie kind of gives up on the second guy. And I was kind of like, man, you at least got to tie his stick up, do something.
I think Willie was really frustrated because when Tavares has a really good game, he does stuff that you don't necessarily appreciate. But he shows up on the score sheet, I guess. When he has a bad game, though, it's also subtle, I think. I don't think he had a good game at all.
Tavares?
He was invisible. And he doesn't have a particularly fast game. And when the Leafs aren't able to break out or use their speed or any of the stuff that I keep mentioning, he's not able to get down low and do his thing and win puck battles and pin guys in. And then he can't get it to Pacioretty and can't get it to Willie, and Willie's got to carry it in on his own, and he's got to make silly passes because he switched onto a line with Domi now, and that whole line, which has been so effective, had a bad game, and I think a lot of it started with their center had no pop.
One thing that the Leafs should continue to excel at is face-off percentage. This matters.
They're killing.
Lawton was good last night.
Yeah.
Lawton was good. 63.5% of face-offs won.
That's heavy.
As a team?
As a team.
Nice.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Bennett's losing a lot of face-offs. Like he is almost a consistent L in the face-off diet.
Yeah.
And it goes back to, guys, when we're talking about Game 5, like obviously that's something you can hang your hat on. That's a good one. The block shots were somewhat similar last night, which I thought was interesting considering how many more the Panthers had overall. It was like 18 block shots to 12. So pretty close, right?
So the Leafs weren't even getting in front of as many as they usually do. Like nothing went right, and they still lost 2-0.
All right.
Like, it wasn't a complete ass kicking. It wasn't good. I'm not stoked about it, but
like,
they were in that game until like what, 7 minutes left?
The penalties they took 6 of them over the course
Yeah.
of the game. The Panthers were 1 for 6 on the power play. Like, the penalty kill did their job that game, and that's why I'm crediting Mitch too, because he's a large part of that. And Austin was on the penalty kill for a lot of that. They had a really good penalty kill.
Yeah. Well, you know how you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice. Something tells me game 5 will be a little different. And Adam, I don't know who made these calls, but you asked me before the game. You're like, here's the officiating crew. What do you think?
Yes,
and it's
Gord Dwyer and Francis.
Was it Francis Sharon?
Yeah,
and like I don't know enough about their individual tendencies, but Gord Dwyer, the last game he worked was game 2 Edmonton Vegas, where he was highly criticized by the players on Vegas and their coach for not making a call.
Oh, it was on Arvidsson and McNabb.
Yeah.
It was where we thought McNabb popped his shoulder out, right? It was at the end of the game.
For not making a call. And here he goes into Florida. And unlike in that game 2, the home team gets every call early.
And there are 9 total power plays last night. If you look at all the penalties at the end, so Domi got 2 minutes for boarding Barkov, but then Marchand, McMahon, and Ekblad all got misconducts too.
Who cares?
It doesn't matter. Who cares? But yeah, I mean, 6-3 were the power plays. And you can't, I'm sorry. Like, I knew the makeup calls were coming in the second period. And you know, the Leafs got 3 of 4 penalties. 3 of 4 power plays potential in the second period. You can't tell me that if the Leafs were worth 6, and I'll even make it 5 because one of them's a puck over glass that you have to call.
Yeah.
You can't tell me that the Panthers didn't warrant a couple more. You can't.
No, I know. And the Kulikov one got missed. And here's an idea that I pitch all the time. And it's usually after something happens to the Leafs. So everyone just goes, fart, Steve. No one cares. Shouldn't Max Domi, or wouldn't it be appealing to you, Panthers fans, that Max Domi start game 5 in the box? Why shouldn't he?
Well,
he got his pound of flesh at the end of the game. He knew what he was doing. No, Leafs. Oh, now it seems like a decent idea, doesn't it?
You know who was made available for comment post-game, guys?
Sam Bennett.
Yeah. He said, Domi trying to take a run at Barkey at the end there. It's been a physical series, so I expect more of that. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. It's not every day you win the Stanley Cup, you win the Four Nation Faceoff, you're a Team Canada player, Stanley Cup champion as an invertebrate.
What?
What do you mean?
What does that mean?
I mean, he has no spine. He took out the Leafs starting goalie, wasn't made available.
Yeah.
But something happened to the Panthers.
Which also couldn't be, it might have not have been his decision.
Get out of here. If he wanted to talk, he would have.
No, that's not how it works.
It's garbage. They should have made him available.
Well, I think they needed to.
Yeah, but your complaints are misdirected.
I don't care.
I
don't care.
You got to talk about Panthers communications.
I'm done being reasonable. Okay. I think I'm over it. No, they should have made him available. They didn't, coward. And then something happened to one of his guys, and he couldn't find a microphone fast enough. Attaboy.
I also find it funny, again, the Panthers narrative after the Stallers thing of like, well, but he's our friend.
Oh, yeah?
He's Paul Maurice. He's one of our guys. No, he's not. He's one of our guys. Paul, you're not one of our guys. You coached here, but you're not one of our guys.
You're also...
Go drink out at Lake Ontario, friend.
We haven't... First of all, yuck. Second
right
of all,
at the shoreline, too. Right at the shoreline.
We haven't heard from Stallers on this. Bennett's like, oh, yeah, I reached out to him. We still haven't heard from Stallers on this. And the reason for that is he's in Toronto recovering from a concussion that Sam Bennett gave him. But I think I was on a team with this player makes it seem like, the NHL team you cheer for isn't Shoresy, right? Like, not everyone is this band of best friends who give each other ice cream after the game. And what you see when they're doing and they're announcing the starting lineup, that's not reality necessarily. These guys don't all get along. I don't know that they were best friends. I don't know that. Cousins and Stallers, they were teammates. I don't know that they're best friends. Like Cousins from the Ottawa series when he flipped the puck at them. If Stallers comes out and says, yeah, we're best friends, he did something, that's hockey, whatever, then I'll listen to Stolarz and I'll take his word for it. But we haven't heard from him yet because he's recovering from a head injury that the Panthers gave him.
Sam Bennett and Paul Maurice's word.
Because screw those guys. Go Leafs. That's why. I'm done being reasonable.
Jesse, do you have anything else you want to hit on before we go on to Dallas and Winnipeg?
I think sometimes we forget there's another team on the ice. I think sometimes people go into these games and they say either the Leafs suck or they were great, and that there's not another team competing against them trying to also win the game, and another team that's the defending Stanley Cup champions who are trying to play these games and also win this series. And credit to Florida for playing a good game. I thought you were a little overconfident last game, Adam, where you came out of it saying the Florida Panthers played their best game and the Leafs almost won it.
I still think they played a better game 3 than they did game 4.
Totally, but they didn't have to play even better in game 4 because the Leafs didn't show up. But this is a good team at the other end of the ice.
Yeah, I still think the Leafs can beat them, though.
Yes,
I think
100. Like nobody's saying they can't.
I think that's where it comes from, Jess. It's not that I don't respect the Panthers, because come on.
Yeah,
but I understand why it lands that way. I think for me, it's the Leafs of the previous 8 or 9 years. You have every reason to be like, man, those guys. Yeah. Those friggin' guys. I'm sorry, this postseason I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
I saw one game of that against Ottawa.
Really good hockey team,
really good
not
team.
The same at all as the Sheldon Keefe Leafs. It's completely different mentality, team on the ice, how they play, everything.
And I agree, Jesse. We're in a new era, and sometimes when you're in a new era, it takes you a couple years to realize it. Right? It's like everybody looks back at that Montreal series and gone, well, Dubas and Shanny, had they been smart, they would have changed up their strategy after that series. But what they did was, well, we lost John, so no, it can't be our fault. It must be luck.
Damn.
And that's what they said. And they were wrong. And their defense was crap, and it was crap for 8 years. And Treliving came in and finally said, hey, we'd like to get some competent guys back there. How about some guys that can actually play hockey and not Martin Marincin and Nikita Zaitsev and whoever else you want to add into that?
This decor compared to what it was
it
makes me genuinely angry.
It's so embarrassing that we were sold that bill of goods, that Kyle Dubas unironically sat at a podium and said, we like Cody Cece's number. Go drink out of Lake Ontario right at the shoreline.
Right.
He's still
right where all the dirt hangs out.
No,
so I guess my point is, sorry, Jess, I'm belaboring this, but my point in this is a different team. I don't categorize. No matter how this series goes, to me, I've moved past that. Mm-hmm. And last year was still mostly Dubas's team, right? I honestly...
Hey, Don.
Yeah, what do you mean?
This is Dubas's team. Everything bad to do with this team is Dubas.
Listen. I mean, listen. There was only so much they could do. It was like Bertuzzi, Domi, and Klingberg, right? Like, what else could they do?
Yeah.
But when you saw what Brad really wanted to do, which was what happened this past offseason,
this is Brad's team.
Yeah. And I just think at a certain point we got to. The reason I'm like, hey, remember, this isn't the Leafs collapsing. Florida is good, and the Leafs were good in Game 3.
Now
that's what I was meaning.
We reserve the right to change our mind when we watch games 5 and 6.
Yeah, when you get more evidence, obviously you can have a different opinion. Like we're not going to be able to predict the future perfectly, but I think that's the thing is that these losses aren't the complete meltdowns of the teams of the past. It's not the same team. The answers are a lot simpler, and the reactions from I think most people watching are that this is the team from 2021 or 22 or 23. But in reality, the fixes are very easy, and the coaching staff can see what's on the ice, and they just need to tighten up in certain areas to be the team that they were in the rest of the playoffs when they were winning those games.
I think 2 days off is going to be really important. You said something there, Jesse, about sometimes we forget there's a team at the other end of the ice, and that is something in particular because of the streams I've tried to beat just out of my brain. Because there were nights years ago where I was watching the game and I realized I haven't even looked at an opposing player. I'm tracking the Leafs and I'm tracking what they're doing defensively and what they're doing offensively. And I don't know exactly how I've done it, but I think I'm much better at watching the whole ice. And well, it's you're cheering for your team and you want to see what your team does, right? So what I've done is it's easier to pick apart everything that's happening on the ice. You just got to, at least I found for me, maybe this comes naturally to people. It didn't come naturally to me. You got to make a conscious effort to watch what all 12 guys on the ice are doing at any given time.
Oh yeah. And like the Leafs, like they play well. They need to fix a bunch of things from 4 to 5, but it's not that they don't have it in them and the ability to squeak out the series.
I agree.